Alright, so Valve recently dropped maybe one of the worst updates in recent memory for CSGO. They rolled out Trusted Mode, this weird anti-cheat system that's causing a lot of problems for some of CSGO's player base. Some people are experiencing dropped frame rates, a giant impact to matchmaking, hell, some people can't even start the game right now. So I talked to a security expert about whether this thing is actually effective at stopping hackers, whether or not it's just a glorified PR move, and why so many people are having problems in the first place. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so theScore esports is streaming over at twitch.tv/theScore esports. And we have a ton of streams happening throughout the week. Chess on Tuesdays, our talk show Clouded on Wednesdays, and Behind the Desk on Thursdays. So if you haven't already, go ahead and give the channel a follow so you know exactly when we go live. Okay, now back to the story. Back in June, Valve launched its anti-cheat system thing, Trusted Mode, into beta before fully patching it into CSGO on July 8th. And almost immediately, there were problems. People complained of frame rate drops, the fact that it could potentially screw with their trust score, which has a big impact on your matchmaking experience, or hell, just being unable to run the game at all. And on July 8th, Trusted Mode moved from an opt-in beta that players could choose to participate in to a fully patched piece of CSGO's architecture. Basically, something that now everyone has to deal with. And if you've ever read Valve patch notes for CSGO, you know they're not the most descriptive. It's usually just a bunch of bullet points explaining what's new with the game. And the original patch notes for Trusted Mode are no different. They announce the feature and then throw specifics at you like, quote, by default, players will launch CSGO in Trusted Mode, which will block third-party files from interacting with the game, end quote. But then it doesn't explain what that means. So naturally, the combination of all these problems made people ask, Valve, what the fuck is this thing? So Valve quickly released a longer blog post explaining what Trusted Mode is, but not before the problems started. And a lot of the problems we're about to get into existed in the beta and were actually carried over into the fully patched version of Trusted Mode. And to properly understand what Trusted Mode is and why it's causing problems, I spoke with GamerDoc, who has a background in cybersecurity and runs something called the Overwatch Police Department, which is a Discord server where you can report cheaters in different FPS games, and he'll do his best to get them banned. We've spoken to him a bunch in the past for cheating-centric Don't At Me episodes.
So I think what they were trying to do is stop a lot of the pasting that's going on in CSGO. CSGO is actually, like if you wanted to create cheats and you asked one of the cheat developers, hey, I want to create cheats, I want to learn how you did it, they will tell you do it in CSGO, because in CSGO it's actually really easy to create cheats. There's a lot of tools out there.
Basically, he says what Trusted Mode is trying to do is also its biggest problem, namely stopping third-party software from communicating with CSGO. So if you have OBS, Discord, or NVIDIA Freestyle graphics filters open while trying to run CSGO, you'll be met with a message that tells you to close any third-party software and to relaunch CSGO in Trusted Mode. You literally can't run the game with something as simple as Spotify open in the background. Here's a quote from the longer blog post dedicated to Trusted Mode. Quote, some applications interact with CSGO by injecting directly into the game process. This method is used by common applications as well as cheats. We can vastly improve cheat prevention by restricting injections altogether, as opposed to determining whether an injection is a cheat or not, end quote. GamerDoc says that Valve is essentially saying that because hackers are hiding cheating software within normal and usually safe third-party software, Valve's just gonna ban everything from trying to connect to CSGO.
It's not unusual, because the reason why it's blocked, it's because cheaters are using these vulnerable softwares. Like they have vulnerable locations in the software. So OBS, for instance, you're able to hook onto OBS with a driver or whatever and be able to cheat through OBS. Or you could cheat through NVIDIA stuff, or you could cheat through Discord's overlay. That's the reason why they're blocking it. It's because it's not the fault of the anti-cheat team, it's the fault of the company not removing these vulnerable things.
Now, trusted mode doesn't specifically tell you what third-party software is potentially raising red flags. So unless you're literally only running CSGO, have fun trying to figure out what applications you need to close. GamerDoc described trusted mode as a glorified PR move in response to Vanguard, which is Riot Games' intrusive anti-cheat system that they rolled out with the release of Valorant. He said that Vanguard operates at the kernel level of your computer's architecture, which basically means it's a level of your computer's software that the general gamer rarely, if ever, has to deal with. And according to GamerDoc, it's here at the kernel level where you'll find the most sophisticated and hardest to spot cheating software. And again, according to him, CSGO's trusted mode doesn't work on this level at all, instead operating on a more surface level basis, which he's told us in the past does almost nothing to stop hacking or cheating software from getting into your computer. And listen, these days intrusive anti-cheat systems are out there. Faceit has one, Vanguard is one. It's not like Valve doesn't know they have to go deeper into your computer's architecture to actually stop cheating. Which is why GamerDoc speculates that trusted mode is more of a glorified PR move than actually a piece of software that's going to keep people safe.
The best solution, like in any organization that's has an anti-cheat, I think kernel is the best solution to combat the cheaters. At least from my perspective, seeing Vanguard completely annihilating every single copy paster, just private cheats even. As you can see, the two pro players who got banned for cheating and all that kind of stuff. They are really aggressive with their anti-cheat and it's really working.
He also told me that within an hour of trusted mode going live, hackers had found a way around it. He even sent me screenshots and links to forums where hackers and cheaters were openly talking about how simple this system was to hack. So yeah, trusted mode hasn't seemed to have stopped people from cheating, and it just seems to have made things worse for people who just want to play competitive. On top of the third-party software issue, players have complained about frame rate drops when doing something as simple as moving your mouse across the screen. And according to both Valve and GamerDoc, this is a side effect of trusted mode and the anti-third-party software stance that Valve is taking. But it's also a problem that they're actively looking to fix. Quote, sometimes applications attempt to inject during low-level Windows mouse events, which results in noticeable performance degradation when the mouse is moved. We are internally testing a mechanism that has virtually zero overhead, even for the most zealous of injecting software. Once this new approach ships, players should no longer notice a performance impact from running in trusted mode, even when moving the mouse, end quote. After the CSGO community complained that this thing was a giant pain in the ass, Valve pushed out 2 new patches, the latest of which went live on July 23rd. In it, they talk about fixing performance issues related to trusted mode, and they provided a temporary fix to allow third-party software to communicate with CSGO. Quote, a new compatibility launch option, -allow third-party software, is provided to allow third-party software to access the CSGO game process. So basically, if you punch that line of code into your Steam preferences prior to launching CSGO, apparently third-party software now works with the game. But my question is, doesn't this defeat the whole point? If hackers are using third-party software to cheat in CSGO, why would you let people turn off the option that apparently stops that? Now, Valve has given players the option to completely turn off trusted mode and play in the old version of CSGO, but there's a catch. Quote, if you would like to play while using third-party software that interacts with CSGO, launch with the -untrusted launch option. Note that in this case, your trust score may be negatively affected, end quote. That last sentence stands out to me. Your trust score may be negatively affected. Remember, your trust score is one of the ways Valve figures out who to queue you with in matchmaking. So if you play with trust mode turned off, that score could be negatively impacted even if you've done nothing wrong. Okay, but where does all of this leave us? Well, the good news is that Valve is working on fixes, which they noted in their July 23rd patch note blog post. And while this definitely won't fix CSGO's cheating problem, GamerDoc does think that this trusted mode is a part of Valve's larger long-term plan to fight back against it.
Personally, I think it was just a marketing thing. It was just to calm down some of the players because of the huge influx of cheaters. And this influx of cheaters is not going to stop, believe me. It's going to increase and increase unless something major happens.
My trust score is dog shit. Valve doesn't make the criteria public, but you know, if you
It is so obvious.
it is so obvious. If you run down the list, right, Colin, you're right. It's TKing, team killing, it's leaving matches mid-match, it's being a toxic piece of shit in chat, it's just being a piece of shit. And honestly, I've done every single one of those things multiple fucking times. I'm a pretty trustworthy human being, just not when it comes to playing video games.